Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on Wednesday, the 31st of March. Hi, I'm Paul and I'll be your host this morning in the news today. And we had the double header of T20s in the cricket as the New Zealand women took on Australian women and the New Zealand men took on the Bangladesh men, as well as the test match over in the West Indies between the West Indies and Bangladesh. There's a new substitution rule in the NRL. There was a whole bunch of announcements in rugby by New Zealand Rugby yesterday. And we had NBA action as well. This is your best way to start the day, up to speed with all of the important sports news. In the NBA, Russell Westbrook had a big day, scoring 35 points, 14 rebounds and 21 assists for a triple double, which is the first NBA triple double to top 35 points and 20 assists. He did that as the Washington Wizards beat the Indiana Pacers 123 to 124. That was one of 11 games yesterday. We also saw also had Steve Adams' Pelicans in action, who took on the Celtics. The Pelicans came out strong in the first half and had a half-time lead of 9 points. And the Boston Celtics had a little bit of a comeback in the second half, but never closed that gap. So the Pelicans won 115 to 109. Stephen Adams with 5 rebounds and 4 points there, with Zion Williamson leading the way with 28 points. Brandon Ingram also with 25. A double-double off the bench for Josh Hart with 15 rebounds and 15 points there. The Celtics were led by Jason Tatum with 34 points. Other key results from around the league saw the Jazz beat the Cavaliers 114 to 75. Big win there. The Clippers see off the Bucks 129 to 105. And the Heat beat the Knicks 98 to 88. Looking at the table then, and over in the West Conference, that's the Pelicans still in 12th place and now having won their last 2 games. The Jazz still lead the Suns and the Clippers at the top there, all of them on good winning streaks. Over on the eastern side, the 76ers lead the Nets and the Bucks. The Bucks now on a 3-game losing streak there on that side of things. Over in the NRL, there's been a whole slew of injuries, and this now means that the NRL are introducing a 18th man policy from round 5. This means that teams that have 3 concussions or lose 3 players to concussion in a game will be able to utilise this 18th player. So far, that's only happened once this season. Cronulla were the only side that this has happened to. So it's not going to be a big change in that one. And also, the player has to be an emerging player as well in the 18th. So we'll it probably doesn't go as far as the Rugby League Players Association would like, but this is a step in that direction after a lot of injuries at the weekend, with 20 injured players in the last round. The boys on the Standoff show this evening at 8 p.m. will, I'm sure, be talking about this, as well as rounding up last weekend's action and previewing next weekend. So do join them at 8 p.m. for the Standoff show here on New Zealand Sports Radio. Over in the rugby, there was, a slew of announcements from New Zealand Rugby. They have been pushing for change in the Mitre 10 Cup format, but the Mitre 10 Cup will stay in its current Premiership Championship format for this year. Also, the Farah Palmer Cup will be changing back to the its championship premiership format after having a north-south divide last year. Over on the women's, looking at putting together a women's Super Rugby season league next year. Sorry, with 4 teams, 1 team from the South Island, the Chiefs, Hurricanes, and also the Blues. Looking at a team that's obviously building on the game that'll be happening on May the 1st between the Chiefs and the Blues as part of a double header up at Eden Park. A big thank you very much for the love the show by Rugby Pass Official there on YouTube. Don't forget, folks, you can join it live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at 7 a.m. every single morning, or you can listen to the podcast as well. Also, New Zealand Rugby mentioned that the All Blacks are expecting to play home test matches this year, expecting both, are looking still to play Italy and Fiji here as part of the mid-year tests. Also, it's 100 years since Africa and New Zealand played their first ever test, and also their 100th test this year. And New Zealand is hoping, or the New Zealand Rugby is hoping to host that here in New Zealand as part of the Rugby Championship. Obviously, this all came out ahead of mediation that is happening today between New Zealand Rugby, the New Zealand Rugby Players Association, the provinces, and also the Super Rugby franchises are supposed to be involved in that one. So let's see what we hear from that. This is all ahead of the historic vote that will be taken by the provinces about whether to accept the Silver Lake investment for 15% of the commercial revenues of New Zealand Rugby. And that requires a simple majority. We talked a lot about this on the Driving Maul show last night. So for more details on all of that news, do go and listen to that show, as I say, as a podcast, as well as available on all your socials as a video as well. Heading over then to the cricket, and over in the West Indies, the test match there is currently in action. This is the second test match between West Indies and Sri Lanka. West Indies reached a total of 354 in the first innings, helped by Craig Braithwaite, who nearly battered through the innings. He was a 10th wicket to fall, and he scored 126. Other top score, really the saviour of the innings was Rakeem Cornwall, who came in as the 9th batsman and scored 73 as part of a century stand with Braithwaite. So a real saviour there by the lower order for the West Indies. Lakmal for Sri Lanka taking 4 wickets. In reply, Sri Lanka are currently 49 for 1, having lost their captain and opener, Kurunal Tane, for just 1 run. So a long way to go in that test match, but a decent start there by the West Indies. Over in Napier, and first up yesterday, we had Australia versus New Zealand. The Australia went into bat first, scoring 129 off their 20 overs. Beth Mooney top scoring with 61 runs as she batted through the innings there, holding things together as she was losing partners on a regular basis. Leading the bowling, Frances McKay took 2 wickets for 20 runs off her 4 overs. There was also a run out as well. In reply, Frances McKay decided that, not only was she bowled, but she was opening the batting as well, scoring 46 at the top of the innings after losing Hayley Jensen and Amy Strathwaite cheaply. Amelia Kerr stuck around with her to put together a bit of a stand and give the innings its basis. But it was down to Mandy Green and Hannah Rowe to see things home. Mandy Green scoring 16, Hannah Rowe 14 as a bottom-edged 4 off the last ball of the game, won the game for the White Ferns as they scored 131 for 6, lost 6 wickets, winning by just 4 runs in that one. Unsurprisingly, Frances McKay was the player of the match in that one. And that evens things up 1-1 in the 3-match series. One more to come up at Eden Park. The men's game was full of controversy due to basically the rain in this one. New Zealand reached 173 for 5 off 17.5 overs as rain interrupted play. The innings again was saved. I mean, the Gutsall, Allen, Conway, Young all made starts, but none of them went on to really put together an innings of any note. Glenn Phillips with 58 and Daryl Mitchell with 34. Both of those batsmen not out. Really sort of saved the innings there. A couple of wickets for Mahidi Hassan was the leading bowler. Bangladesh went into bat and there was real confusion as to what the total was that they were supposed to be chasing. It's first off said it was 179 off 17 overs, then 148 off 16, then either 171 or 170 off 16 before it settled down at being 171 runs off 16 overs. Now, as the coach of Bangladesh, Russell Domingo, came out and said, look, he's never known a side to go into bat and not know what the Duckworth-Lewis total is, even after 5 overs. So a third of the way through the innings, they still didn't know what the total was that they were chasing. And he thought that was unfair, which clearly it is, and has been wanting to talking with Jeff Coe, saying, hey, match referee, what was going on? This really wasn't fair, and it can't be allowed to happen again. So real issues there for Bangladesh, knowing what they were chasing in this match. Mohamed Naum at the top there scored 38, and he had a good partnership with Sakar, who scored 51. But in the end, Bangladesh reached 142 for 7 off their 16 overs, meaning that they lost the game by 28 runs due to Duckworth-Lewis method there in that one. Southey took 2 wickets, as did Bennett and Milne in that one, as a real group bowling effort to restrict Bangladesh. Glenn Phillips, with his 58 not out, was player of the match. You have now started the day the best way, up to speed with all the important sports news. Don't forget to join us at 8 p.m. this evening for the Standoff Show, and I'll be back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. with the morning sports briefing.